A new era of Texas football begins this fall, and these are my best and worst case scenarios for the Longhorns in year one of SEC play. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications of when we go live and when we drop new video content, which is each and every single day. Also, guys, check out the podcast, which drops daily on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Also, for all the Texas fans tuned in, guys, we are proud to announce we are partnered up with our friends over at Texas Sports Unfiltered. The SEC Unfiltered Power Hour will air daily, Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern on the Texas Sports Unfiltered platform. So be sure you check us out there as well for more Texas Longhorns chatter and SEC chatter as a whole. Guys, before we get going, this segment's brought to you by our friends over at MYBOOKIE. Head over to MYBOOKIE.ag and use the promo code SECU at sign up to get up to $1,000 deposit bonus on your first deposit. Guys, you can bet on anything and everything over at MYBOOKIE, whether it's college baseball, it's MLB, it's NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, right? Hey, we got futures. We got early big game lines as well for college football, guys. You want to make sure you're in on the action. Also, guys, they got a fantastic casino. So if you like casino games like I do, blackjack, poker, slots, whatever it might be, MYBOOKIE is the place to be. So again, guys, our friends over at MYBOOKIE.ag, that's MYBOOKIE.ag. Use that promo code SECU at sign up to get up to a 100% deposit bonus match of up to $1,000. Again, it's MYBOOKIE.ag, promo code SECU at sign up. The Texas Longhorns begin a new era of college football as they begin life in the SEC this season. And guys, these are my best and worst case scenarios for Steve Sarkisian's program in year one of life in the SEC. And guys, let me preface by saying this. When we say best case and worst case scenarios, we're talking realistic best case, worst case. So nothing like 12-0, 0-12, right? Realistic best case and worst case. Also, guys, these are not predictions. These are simply just best case and worst case. Every single college football team, every single program has question marks. Best case, assuming the majority of those question marks worked out in the positive. The worst case, assuming the majority of those question marks worked out in the negative. So just wanted to make that clear, guys. That being said, let's go ahead and get Texas's schedule pulled up here. And I'll tell you this, guys. Between Texas and Oklahoma, the two new members of the SEC, Texas got the far more favorable schedule. Now, it's not an easy schedule by any means, but it's definitely more favorable. I'm sure Texas fans are shedding a tear over that. But we go, guys, in the non-conference early on, right? Colorado State's an easy dub. UTSA in week 3 is an easy dub. But that game week 2 at Michigan, and I'll say this, I don't think Michigan is going to be nearly what they were last year. You lose Jim Harbaugh, you lose J.J. McCarthy. I mean, they practically lost that entire national championship team. But anytime you got to go to the big house, right, that is a tone setter early in the season. But you take care of Michigan, guys, and we'll start, by the way, my best case scenario for Texas. So you take care of Michigan in week 2, guys. You're going to be 4-0 going into SEC play, right? You got UTSA, UNRO, all due respect to those teams. You're going to beat them and be 4-0. But when you look at the way that the SEC schedule shakes out, guys. Again, for Texas, you could not have asked for a more favorable slate, right? You have Oklahoma in that annual rivalry game. Of course, Texas is going to want to get revenge in that one. But you get State at home, right? That's your SEC opener. Georgia, they're at home. Your road games are Vandy, Arkansas, and then Texas A&M in that rivalry game to close out the season. I mean, guys, you don't really have that difficult of a road matchup outside of that finale in College Station, right? You get Georgia at home. You avoid Ole Miss. You avoid Mizzou. You avoid LSU. You avoid Tennessee, right? And outside of that, you get Florida and you get Kentucky on the home field. Texas is going to have a really high floor because, guys, the schedule sets up well. My best case scenario for Texas, guys, I mean, listen, in my opinion, if Texas beats Georgia, okay, and the Oklahoma game is tricky, don't get me wrong, But Texas can go undefeated. There is no question in my mind that Texas can go undefeated, right? The Oklahoma game, obviously, really difficult rivalry game. We all know about that one. You beat Georgia on October 19th, though. I don't see anybody beating the Texas Longhorns. That finale at Texas A&M, that's going to be wild for sure. That's going to be must-see TV. I mean, that's going to be absolutely electric, and that is certainly one where I think Texas A&M could pull the upset. I also think Texas A&M going to be a solid club this year. But Texas, if everything breaks right, and they play it to their full potential, Texas has more than enough to go undefeated this season. I think the best case scenario for Texas is 12-0. I don't think that is too far of a reach. I think they are realistically year one an SEC championship contender. I think damn near a lock for the college football playoff, but certainly a contender right there at the top with Georgia for the SEC title. Now, guys, let's talk worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario for Texas? Like I mentioned, guys, when you look at talent and you look at schedule, I really believe that the floor is extremely high, okay? So my worst case scenario, I look at it like this. You lose to Georgia, okay? That's a given. That's the big one that jumps out. You lose to Georgia, okay? It would then take, maybe you lose to Oklahoma back-to-back years in that rivalry game, and you lose one of two to either Michigan on the road or A&M on the road. Guys, I think outside of that, if you're trying to say, well, maybe they lose to Florida, maybe they lose at Arkansas could be interesting, right? Last time they went there, Arkansas beat the brakes off of them. But you got to think about, guys, they might lose one of these games. Texas might get upset by one of these teams. They're not going to get upset by all of them. I think the worst case scenario for the Longhorns is 9-3, and I would be really, really surprised. Guys, that's not a prediction. I'd be surprised if Texas went 9-3. I'd be very, very surprised. Now, life in the SEC is different, right? It's not about, hey, you can play kind of your C- game and get away with it on a week-in, week-out basis. Like, hey, you got Florida, then you got to go to Arkansas. Then you got a tough Kentucky team. Then you got to go to Texas A&M. Like, it's that week-in, week-out grind that makes it so tough. But I think Texas has enough talent-wise. I think they're going to be on a mission this year. I think on the line of scrimmage, they are built in such a way where I think they're going to have success early on. And so 9-3, I think, is the absolute worst-case scenario. And, guys, admittedly, I would be really surprised if Texas went 9-3 in this season. So, when it comes to Texas, year one of life in the SEC, best case, worst case scenario, I've got best case 12-0, worst case 9-3. When you look at Steve Sarkisian's program and you look at that schedule and you look at the talent in this roster, what's your best case, worst case? Do you agree or disagree with my sentiment? And how do you feel Texas will fare in year one of life in the SEC? Guys, that's going to do all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications of when we go live and when we drop new video content, which is each and every single day. Also, guys, look at the podcast, which drops daily: iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. And again, for all the Texas fans out there, be sure to check us out on the Texas Sports Unfiltered platform, the SEC Unfiltered Hour every single day, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern, talking all things Texas Longhorns and, of course, the entire SEC. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.